where in my life am I still lying? I'm in a highly dysfunctional relationship. Rather than lying, I should leave and I must leave, say to yourself, wow. When you do that, you're speaking truth and you're in alignment. That's the first piece. And then the second is, I would say, something around
Donna Lancaster, author of The Bridge and Wise Words for Women. Donna's work explores emotional truth.
just begin, pick a lane almost, begin imperfectly, be willing to stumble and bumble through your healing journey. That version of me died that day. There was no fighter left in me. I was at the end of my warrior, broken in the corner of the ring. You know, the gloves were off. It was like smashed to a pulp. I was finished.
Today, I'm joined by my beautiful friend, Donna Lancaster, author of The Bridge and Wise Words for Women. Donna's work explores emotional truth, self-trust, and the quiet wisdom that comes from lived experience rather than theory alone. In your book, The Bridge, you write about crossing from survival into self-trust. What did you personally have to unlearn rather than learn to truly cross that bridge?
Great question, Johnny. Great question. I think that so much of what I had to unlearn was around kind of defenses, the armor, the unlearning of an automatic, almost like reflex of closing my heart every time there was a possibility of even getting hurt, not even a risk, like a going out into the world kind of thing. It's like someone might say something, do something that might hurt me, so I'm going to armor up, I'm going to contract, I'm going to close my heart down. And so so that I could function in the world. That's why I become, like many people, what I call neck up. Is I was like, this body was just moving me around. I had no connection to my heart because it was too painful. And then I was just like trying to think my way through life, and good luck with that. Didn't get me very far, I can tell you. And then, I mean, it did in survival, but not in living. It was in existence. It wasn't a true living. So I think I had to really unlearn slowly and safely all of the things that I'd learnt to cope with being so brokenhearted by people, especially my parents, and by all of my many of my childhood experiences, and then many of my adult experiences, which naturally came as a follow-on from my childhood. So yeah, it was a real, like I said, an unlearning and unraveling that allowed me to cross the bridge and become not interested so much in just surviving, but in truly thriving. And again, coming into a place of learning how to drop from the head to the heart. And that involved grieving for all the things that had happened to me. But as part of that grieving process, again, it was another portal. Grieving was a portal that allowed me to crawl my way through to crossing the bridge, to living a more truthful, authentic, and joyful life. I mean, who knew that joy was waiting for me on the other side of that portal of grief? I thought that joy was just something that happened in films or at the bottom of a bottle of something, or, I didn't think, you know that one, Johnny. I didn't think that it was something that I could actually experience and live and feel every day. And it's like, fuck me, here we are. So yeah, sorry, a long-winded answer to your question, but I feel like so much was about what I had to let go of. I'm very visual, and I can see myself like throwing things over the side of the bridge, like those pieces of rusty armor and all the kind of weapons that I used as a warrior, to survive, and then coming across that bridge quite like vulnerable. I always say it's like Bambi-legged courage. It wasn't like, yeah, it was like, and I still wobbled on my little Bambi legs courageously across the bridge to a different land. I really arrived in a different land.
One of the first things that resonated with me about you when I was doing my research for the first podcast was how you described yourself as this warrior woman, but you also acknowledged how exhausting it was. And I remember that really resonating with me and thinking, and again, maybe even in that moment, I had that feeling of permission to acknowledge that. And when you were talking about like that unlearning and letting go of all of those things, there must have first been a point where you had to acknowledge those things first. Do Do you remember that process? Do you remember? Because I suspect life was probably showing you many times over and giving you the opportunity to do it, and you were going, "Nah, I'll be all right," and worry it up, and then
Yeah.
there must have been a point where you were like, "I need to do this differently." Do you remember that?
God, do I? Because it was really one of those kind of, I mean, I wrote about this in the book. I think it's I think it's the first page of the book, The Bridge, where I talk about being on the toilet floor at work and having what I thought was a heart attack. And it kind of was a heart attack because my heart had been broken so badly, so many times that it felt like it was an attack of the heart. But really what it was, the sort of dictionary definition or the medical definition would be a panic attack. And anyone who's had a panic attack knows that it's not anxiety. I mean, I thought I was dying. And in a way, I was right, because I did die on that floor that day. I died. That warrior, she just lost all her. She was so exhausted that she literally fell to the floor, Johnny. And then a different version of me, a scared, terrified, vulnerable little girl, kind of crawled out of that toilet and started a really big job of healing, which was, many, many years of healing what had happened to me. But it was like, I always say, it was like the universe staged an intervention, because I was like such a warrior and a survivor, like many people, probably your listeners and you. I could have gone on for another decade probably before it broke me, and so the universe went, oh, bless her.
Let's
Let's
really kick
help
her
her
ass.
out. Let's bring her to her knees and let's give her a panic attack and then see what she does with that. And I'm like, oh, and that was the end of that, and Donna Lancaster, that version of me died that day. It really was. There was no fighter left in me. It was really like I was at the end of my warrior. Yeah, broken in the corner of the ring. The gloves were off. It was like smashed to a pulp. I was finished.
Yeah, the beginning of the bridge. I've read that a few times. That because it's one of the best openings to a book I've ever read. It's just so honest and raw and real, and it just I saw myself in it in certain kind of ways, and I expect many people did as well. It was brilliant. It really was brilliant to read, and it speaks to what we're talking about now massively.
Mm.
So yeah, always grateful.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
much of Wise Words for Women speaks to emotional truth rather than emotional comfort.
I think that women are from birth are conditioned and indoctrinated, and men too, in a different way, to lie. So it's coming back to this performative piece, to start to smile sweetly, to swallow your truth, to don't speak up, to don't show off, to all the messages that we receive from the very beginning. So we start to recognize that we're not allowed to be too much of anything, especially girls. And so therefore we swallow so much of our emotional truth from very, very early on. And then we understand if it bursts out, which it often does in teenage years, it starts to come out in certain rages or certain, sadness or whatever it might be. There's people don't like it. And so we're shown very clearly that to be emotionally truthful is to be dangerous, is to risk not belonging, to risk being ostracized from our community, our family. It is to be not loved. And so women often feel that they can't live their emotional truth because they'll be rejected and they'll be deemed as too much. So from the very beginning, we are trained to be liars, and yet we are truth tellers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's that idea that, you're not allowed to, I mean, just think about that as a statement. You're not allowed to tell your truth. You're not allowed to say what's true for you. You have to pretend to be someone else. You've got no choice.
Mm.
You've got no choice. I don't know if many people would knowingly take that on.
Mm.
Really? Not really.
No.
So you often point to inner wisdom as something we return to, not discover. What are the subtle ways modern life quietly disconnects us from that wisdom without us even realizing it's happening?
I mean, anything that involves too much noise,
Mm.
so whether it's, all the the modern drugs of choice, like, people think that when they think of addicts, this only too well, Johnny, they think of drug addicts, alcoholics, maybe you might even think of, sex addicts, but you don't think about the addiction of technology. You don't think about the addiction of social media. And so it's that thing of all of these, Eckhart Tolle says that gadgets are merely an extension of the mind. They are meant to keep us neck up. They're meant to keep us disembodied, because what lies in the body? Truth. So what lies in the body? Love. The heart, of course, is all here, neck down, and everything gadgets is invested in keeping us up here. And so much of our kind of addiction to gadgets, our addiction to immediacy, there's no deferred gratification anymore. There's no waiting to see a film. Everything is at the press of a button, is on our fingertips. And I think that is a real high price that people pay, because what we've lost with all of that is our capacity to be still, capacity to get quiet, because I always say that the soul doesn't run and it doesn't shout. It's a quiet whisper from your soul that comes through, and you need to get still enough to be able to hear it. And we're just too busy, too exhausted. Exhausted by technology. Technology is exhausting. People being able to reach you all the time, and all that pressure that people feel when they've got to reply, and all that nonsense. I don't buy into it, but I see how people do. So yeah, all of that, I think, is what is all the noise is essentially invested in us not being still enough to know what nonsense it is.
Yeah.
And the truth.
Yeah. The truth keeps coming up with us. We're both truth seekers, truth tellers. My relationship with the truth is that it's kept me safe, because I can trust it. It's stable, even if I don't like it. It's what's true. But just that idea there that technology is pulling us away from ourselves, and then you spoke about that emotional honesty and the feeling of emotional danger, and it just feels like a lot of the things that we're talking about are pulling us away from experiencing life and learning those lessons. And it's like, to me, it's like symbolically, it's like taking, me, I'm a mountain person, I like to go up in mountains, but it'd be like me taking a helicopter to the top and saying I've got to the top, missing the whole journey, missing the adventure, missing the struggles, the good bits, the bad bits, the good view that I saw on this peak, but then the bad weather that I experienced over there. And all of it is there, good or bad, to give us an experience, in a sense. That's what it feels like you're trying to say, is that there's this experience that we're missing, especially with technology pulling us away from it. Is that sort of, have I got that? Is that what? Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're spot on. I think it is, it's that old saying about, it's not the destination, it's the journey, and even that crossing the bridge that I described earlier with chucking all that stuff overboard. If I'm just waiting for the end goal, I'm missing the point because all of that chucking over the bridge or climbing up the mountain, all of that is the kind of, it not only does it create incredible resilience, which lots of young people I see that they just don't have, because they're not rubbing up against life in the same way that we were and have been. And also it's this sense of accomplishment, of deferred gratification. No, you've got to walk another 2 miles, Johnny, before you get to sit down and rest and have water. All of that stuff is creating a sense of, the sort of purpose, meaning, direction, resilience, strength, and achievement, like this sense of, and not in the kind of traditional kind of success, but a different kind of abundance, a different kind of riches. So I think there's so much in the sort of struggle, and that's also why young people, when we were young, we were meant to go through all those, I believe we were meant to go through all that rough stuff to kind of polish the diamond, and it's like you're just becoming, who was it? I think it was David Bowie that just said old age or getting older is a funny thing because you become the person that you were always meant to be.
Oh.
And I think that's true. I am, if anything, I think I am now who I was before the world broke my heart too many times. I've come back for myself, to myself, as have you.
Second time you give me goosebumps. Because in a sense, what people are saying, if they don't experience life with all of its tragedies and wonderful moments, then I suppose what the point of living is to die. Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that all we're doing? We're just waiting to die our whole life? It's like, well, no, because there's so many things in between. One of the most significant life lessons that I would never take back happened with an experience I'd take back any day of the week because it was horrible. I
Mm,
never ever want to go back and do anything like that again. But
mm,
as life tends to do, I can't take away the horrible notion that I learned what I needed to know in that moment, and thank God I did. And that's life. And this is what we're saying, I suppose, is that if you don't embrace life, if you constantly live in fear of speaking your truth, because I think it's Jordan Peterson, he always says, like, it's the greatest adventures come from truth. Like, because you don't
mm,
know what's going to happen. You just got
mm,
no idea what's going to happen when you tell the truth. And that's quite exciting. That's quite an adventure. That's what
mm.
adventure is to me. It's like, I'm going to climb this mountain, maybe. Or maybe I'm going to get allergy sickness and be sick in a tent. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I love that. I love that. That always gives me goosebumps when I hear you speak like that. Especially that analogy of you crossing the bridge, throwing things out. It's almost got like a comical notion to it. But then again, that's part of life as well, isn't it? Some of the stuff that was really horrible at the time, we look back, and me and my best mate Lee, we talk about things from our childhood that I expect others would find really hard to hear, but we're laughing because it's so stupid. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just so ridiculous.
I
But it's
think you
true.
get to, exactly, Johnny. I think you get to a place where when you do your healing work, life, becomes lighter because you're clearing debris. You're throwing stuff over the bridge. You're clearing debris that's covering your heart and your soul. And that means that you are left with more spaciousness inside. And at first that can feel a bit scary, can even feel a bit empty. But
Mm.
ultimately it's like I've got more, as I've cleared and continue to clear the debris away from my heart and my soul, I feel lighter in life. And that's when we can just laugh at ourselves. I mean, I used to take myself so seriously. Like, that makes me laugh. I was such a joke. Everything was like really earnest. I was so earnest. You probably can't imagine. I mean, I always had a good sense of humor, but it was more to sort of deflect and avoid pain and all of that. Whereas now I think life is hilarious, and especially this little sort of egoic form called Donna, me and my ego, hilarious. It's just such a gift to be able to sort of tread through life more lightly as you continue to go up that mountain. And what a gift not to get to the top, because I think
Mm.
that's such a metaphor for
Nice.
life and for the patriarchy, that you've only achieved that goal that you set if you get to the peak, if you get to see that view at the top. What bullshit. You get
Mm.
halfway, a quarter of a way, depending on your fitness and your altitude capacity. Like, that's a massive achievement. Some people are still sitting on their sofa watching Netflix, and you're a quarter of the way up a mountain. Like, fuck me, and it's like people forget what it means. It's not about the peak, it's about the process of going through it.
Yeah, that
Beautiful.
couldn't say that, but it's funny. You echo so at the beginning of the year, climbing Kilimanjaro, I didn't get to the top. And there was this moment from 5,000 meters where we were going for the summit. And I thought being brave was putting one foot in front of another and getting to the top. But actually, the true bravery was when I had to come back down and tell my sons that I didn't get to the top, and to tell the people that sponsored me that I didn't get to the top, because that
Yes.
was the bit I didn't want to do. I was
Yes.
actually willing to carry on going, and it was my wife's words. She said, "Don't kill yourself trying to get to the top of a hill." Like, she
Yes.
really belittled it. But it's true. It's like, don't kill yourself trying to get to the top of a hill. And I don't know if I told you, but when I got back to the tent, I sort of said to myself, because I got carried down by two guys, it's like proper humbled me. And I sat in this tent and I was thinking, right, we're going to cry. What's going to happen? And I just started laughing. Exactly it's just like, you twat. You know what I mean? It's just like, what are you doing? Just cool, man. You didn't get to the
Brilliant.
top, so what? So I totally resonate with that. That's so true.
It's
True.
so good as well, isn't it? Just the sort of the idea of, that kind of warrior part of you that wanted to get to the top. There was probably a lot of ego involved, let's be honest. And that's fine, because that's the truth for all of us. Like, I've got to get there. People have sponsored me. I've got to prove, and all of that kind of stuff. And then to have this humility piece.
It's funny. It is funny. You're absolutely
Brilliant. It's brilliant. And two men having to carry
yeah,
your egoic
like a baby. Legs kicking the lot. I was just like, come on.
love it. I love it. And it's what I call humility street. It's like we regularly need to go nose down into humility street and have those moments where you're just, it's, it's really ego shrinkage. That's what it is. Your ego is like deflated, like it's like a balloon going down
Oh, yeah.
slowly. It's just like,
It really was. I sat in that tent like, what just happened? I just got carried down a mountain by two blokes. They put me to bed like a bloody baby. Stuck me in a bloody sleeping bag. I was like, come on, stop, go home.
I love it. I love it. And it's so you look back, don't you? And you not only can you see the funny side, but also the gifts in that, the gifts of ego shrinkage, the gift in, not losing ourselves in this macho or egoic need to get only to the top. Like like I said, for some people, just leaving the sofa is a major achievement, and it's like you got all your gear, you planned it, you trained for it, all of that stuff. And it's like, just to get there, just to get on the bus with all your gear, having trained for it. That's a major achievement.
Yeah,
It's
I
just a
think
perspective piece, isn't it?
it was Vic, the trainer, the leader. He looked at me and he said to me, "You're a good man, lad." He said, "You've done really well. You've reached your summit." And it was
Oh,
only afterwards that those words really sink in. You've reached your summit.
yeah,
And I thought that speaks to what you've just said.
yeah.
Everyone's got a different top.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's all right. And just, even this conversation and the giggles, and I'm sure you've had many giggles with your wife and your family about being carried down. I mean, I'm so visual, I can see it, and it just makes me chuckle.
It's the
But
legs, like just the
like almost like you're in a papoose, like a little baby. Your booties on. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's just like I'm sure they thought this is their job, right? So they're taking good care of me. But the more nice to me they were, the more I was like, just fuck off, just leave me alone. You've taken all my masculinity. There's nothing left. Just be gone.
My dignity's gone. Oh gosh,
It
what
was
a
bad.
gift.
It was
No,
bad.
I
Anyway,
tell you,
moving swiftly on.
okay, but I'm just saying that these are I always talk about turbo gifts, Johnny, and these are
Yeah.
turbo gifts. Like it doesn't feel like a gift at the beginning; it feels like big. He's a turd, but actually, you work through that and you open it and you see it was actually a gift.
Yeah, it's that part of the moment where I'm with the universe and it's like all this wisdom I spout allegedly, and it's like, right, make sense of this then, Johnny.
Yeah.
This must mean that you're a joke. I don't know what this means.
Do you know, I think it's one of, I can't remember if it's Richard Rohr, but one of the great teachers of mine, and he says, you should regularly seek out embarrassing and humiliating experiences as part of your spiritual practice. And I really believe it's true. I mean, mine tend to seek me out daily, like you with the the dodgy bra pictures. But I get what he means. It's like we need to be constantly. I said this to one of my people that I mentor when he was saying recently that he'd screwed something up, on a big platform, basically. And I was saying, great, because this is just making sure you stay humble and that you know that you don't know everything, because the ego thinks it has to know everything. No, you don't. No one ever does. So yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, it's the greatest gift I ever gave myself was to say I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just instantly just get rid of all of that. Like, instead of stumbling my way through something that might be true, just say I don't know.
Yeah.
Even welcome the opportunity to explore it together, whatever, just, I don't know.
I know. I love that. That statement's so liberating, isn't it? Like sometimes when I'm delivering my work and someone, and that sometimes people have an agenda where they want, not so much these days, but when I was younger and they wanted to try and catch me out. And I would just go, I don't know. I'll have a think about that and a Google probably like you will. And let's see what we can find out, and then open it up to the rest of the group for conversation. But I really love, the power and the liberation of the truth of I don't know, because we don't.
No, and this is it. This is the beauty and like exactly the words you said, the liberating of being a truth seeker is that you're willing at all times to change your mind if the truth reveals more of what it is. And it's not our job to know it all. And what sort of for me anyway, talking for myself, it's an incredibly arrogant pursuit to think that I know everything, and it's even more arrogant to think that I know what's best for you. It's just like,
Yeah,
oh, that's not cool at all, is it? It's just like,
exactly.
what does that even mean?
Exactly.
But if there's a woman who feels functional but fragmented, doing life well on the outside but disconnected on the inside, what is the first uncomfortable truth she might seek to be willing to face?
You're good, Johnny. You've done this before, huh?
Oh, well, I did
Um,
it a couple of times, yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, it's a great question. I think the uncomfortable truth, again, there's a thread of our conversation, might be a question I often ask clients when they're struggling with an area of their life or they're just struggling with all of their life is to ask yourself this difficult question, which is, where in my life am I still lying?
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah. Where in my life am
Where
I
in my
still
life
lying?
am I still lying? Because that will lead you to some resolution. Even if you see, oh, I'm lying, say, I'm in a highly dysfunctional relationship, say, but I've been with this person since I was a teenager and I don't know anything else and I'm terrified. That's all truth. And then you say to yourself, rather than lying and saying, oh, I should leave and I must leave. And then you say to yourself something like, I'm not ready to leave this dysfunctional relationship yet. Truth. When you do that, you're speaking truth and you're in alignment. But when you kind of go, oh, no, it's fine. And yeah, no, it feels abusive, but I'm not going to tell anyone that. You're just living a lie. But when you are truthful to the person in the mirror and you say something like that, like, I know I need to leave, but I'm not ready yet. That's truth. And then you don't feel that there's a fragmentation because you're integrating the truth, even if you're not ready to act upon it. So that's the first piece I would say, where in your life are you still living a lie? And then the second piece is, I would say, something around, what aspects of your life are you neglecting?
Mm.
So what aspects of your life are you neglecting? So sometimes that's practical needs like sleep, healthy, good nutrition, exercise, those kind of needs. And then, and connection, hanging out with friends and family or whatever. And then another dimension, it might be that they're neglecting their inner world, their emotional life, their spiritual life. So, yeah, what aspects of your life are you neglecting?
That's like, they're two incredibly powerful questions. When people do that, there's often this little narrative that they create to themselves because they're not willing or able to accept the truth in the beginning. So they create this little story about about what's going on that they can accept. How do they see through that? Because sometimes I think, and I can only speak for myself, but I've experienced it where I've told myself a lie so many times that I believe it to be the truth. And it's
Mm.
only when certain aspects of life show up that I go, is it, the only thing that makes sense now is that this is bollocks. Like, this is not how it is, So how do people get through that part, do you think?
Do you know, one of the things that I use, which is, what a sentence stem is?
No, I don't think so.
A sentence stem is basically the beginning of a sentence where you complete the sentence. So, and what I often do, sometimes I'll do this literally off the cuff with a client, where I'll say, finish this sentence, and you do it like stream of consciousness. So, for example, I might say to you, Donnie, you don't have to do it, but I might say to you, the truth that I'm hiding from is. And then you answer, and then I say, and then you say something, and then I'll say, and the truth that I'm hiding from is, and the truth that and you just keep going and keep going. So
Mm.
you can do it in written form. The truth that I'm hiding from, or the truth that I'm running from is, or what I'm afraid of underneath is, whatever it might be. So you write the same sentence, or you speak the same sentence over and over again, and then you finish it, stream of consciousness. So it's not enough time for you to go and filter. And what often happens is at first you get the obvious kind of, that I'm afraid, or and then you keep going and you keep going and you keep going. And then the real truth bombs come out. The real, I remember doing this with a woman that was, her husband had like multiple affairs, and she was, really furious, but very in her nice girl persona. And so we did, and one of the sentence stems I used was, if I could If I could have, I would have, thinking about her husband. So she said things like, at the beginning, it was like I was asking her, stream of consciousness. If I could have, I would have helped him go to therapy. If I could have, I would have saved him. If I could have, I would have loved him into healing. And then when we started to go down deep and dirty, and I just kept going really quick, so she hasn't got enough time to figure. And then I got to, I would have smashed him in the face. And then again, and then the real
Yeah.
I would murder him in his sleep. And it's like, now we're getting, and it's not that she's going to act on that. It's not like you're accessing or getting someone to kind of lance a dark shadow that's going to leak out everywhere. It's the opposite. Because when you speak truth, when you finally are able to go, actually, what's really happening here is, this shadowy stuff here. And I can speak it in a safe place where no one's going to judge me for this dark truth. It frees us. You don't have to act on it. It won't leak out sideways of you, that rage. You just can let it go. Over the side of the bridge it goes.
Yeah, that goes back to that other question, doesn't it? Confusing emotional honesty with emotional danger. Because
Yes.
you go from I want to love somebody into healing to actually I want to stab them in their sleep. Like you didn't stab them in their sleep, but you wanted to. It's okay to say it. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's a safe space,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's only because then what you're doing is you're accepting how you really feel instead of almost trying to recreate that. It's one of the things, as you know, I'm experiencing a strange kind of grief at the moment, and within my family, there are people that are almost trying their hardest to resist the temptation of rewriting history. Oh, they wasn't that bad because that grief feels so delicate and so crazy and so scary that they want to almost grieve conventionally, which is awful within itself. But at least you've seen that before or it's familiar. But this grief is kind of weird. So it's like, well, maybe what I need to do is change what happened a little bit. And then I can grieve normally, if you will. And it's kind of the same in a sense. It's like people don't want to admit that they actually want, and it's so human. Like, yeah, of course you wanted to stab him. Absolutely. It makes sense. You didn't know, right?
Exactly. And the more you're able like I say, this is in safe spaces. You're not telling the checkout person in Tesco's, but you're in a safe, held space. You're able to say to a trusted, benevolent, a kind witness, there's a part of me, because that's another thing, is we talk in parts. It's not all of you. There's a part of me that wants to love him into his own healing, and there's another part that wants to stab him in his sleep. And both are equally valid. This is light and shadow integration. It doesn't mean you're going to stab him in his sleep. In fact, you're less likely to stab him in his sleep if you actually have someone that can hold space for you to say, this is my truth. There's part of me that wants that. Fine. That is a liberation, honestly. And it's so important because, like you say, with your dad and the grief, what you're experiencing, Johnny, is complex grief, because there was a complex relationship with your father. There's a complex relationship between you and your siblings around your father. And understandably, people want to lessen their pain by making it like rose tinted, like, oh, he was actually really great. And it's about, don't dishonor this man with all of his own shadow and unhealed wounds that really massively impacted you all. And that also to celebrate with your children, because he was their grandfather, that he also had some wonderful qualities, many of which you carry. And it's that beauty, Johnny, of going the both andness. Like, your granddad had these issues and these dysfunctional behaviors that hurt us, and they were this, and this. And that is a beautiful gift to give yourself, your siblings, and your children.
That was one of the most impactful parts of the healing the father wound experience that we all had, was when you said the and bit. It's not, what was it? It's not in as well as
Not either or.
Yeah, that's right. It's not either or, because that's what we were doing, isn't it? It's like you're saying there, like, I either wanted to love him into his healing, or I went to stab him in his sleep, or I wanted to love him into his healing, but I also wanted to stab him in his sleep. And that's okay, because this is life. This is the thing that's complex about emotions, is that two seemingly conflicting things can be true at the same time, which is a concept we just can't fathom, but it's true. It's true.
And it's a real healing piece, is you can hold multiple truths at the same time. And I always say, like with my dad, when I was unhealed, All my dad was to me was a violent alcoholic. That's all I said. When someone said, what's your dad? Violent alcoholic, violent alcoholic. And then when I did the healing and I actually walked a mile in his shoes energetically, and I came to see not only the background to how he became a violent alcoholic, but also that he was also all these other things. He was a grafter, you know, he was really funny, a great storyteller, charismatic, highly intelligent, well-read, educated, you
Mm.
know, he was both and that is healing in action right there.
Yeah, do you know what that speaks to? I got full goosebumps because of something I'm about to say. But when we looked through all of the boxes of stuff of my dad, I found all of his schoolwork from when he was trying to become a pharmacist. And I sat through 2 boxes just looking through it in absolute awe of the amount of work that he put into that. And it
Mm,
was just absolutely amazing. I
mm,
thought, wow, you were so intelligent. I
mm,
never knew that. I never knew that. Then I saw some of the letters that he'd written back to his family about how he was going to be successful and how he's going to be that. And then obviously I came along and things changed.
mm.
And then I thought, like you said, from a very human perspective, well, yeah, of course you're going to have resentments and feelings. Was it my fault? No, but I can see that complex journey, how non-linear and how not easy it is to look at. But if you can look at it through the eyes of truth, you can see what's true, you
Yes.
know? So
Beautiful.
yeah,
So
yeah.
beautiful and just so compassionate and just like for your children to know that your dad, their grandfather, wanted to be, what was it you said,
A pharmacist.
a pharmacist. I mean, what a gift to give that, to see that was in him, you know, and like
Mm.
you say, how painful it must have been for him to let go of those dreams.
That's it. And I also read in one of the letters that his mum used to sell fish by the roadside to afford to send him to the UK.
Mm.
See, it's a whole story I just didn't know. Just
Mm.
didn't know, you know, and it's part of my healing journey. As much as I don't want to take his story and make it mine, but it's part of my healing journey to realize that, first of all, wasn't anything to do with me. You know, that it was all about his hopes and dreams and giving that up. You know,
Yes.
or at least it appears to be an aspect of it. But anyway, it's not
Yeah.
about me.
No, but it is because your story resonates with so many, Johnny, and it's such a beautiful, yeah, a beautiful example of kind of the power of healing and walking a mile in our parents' shoes energetically, and that through his death you were able to do that and to meet your dad. You met him in a way that you'd never met him in real life, and that's beautiful, my friend. Beautiful.
That's interesting that it took him to die for me to get to know him. Damn. Yeah, that's going to sit with me for the rest of the day.
You're
That really
welcome.
is. Yeah, money's in the post. Yeah, that's interesting. Wowzers. See, told you. Spiritual bodyguard. Absolute legend. Mentor. Learning all the time. Learning all the time.
Aw.
But that's the gift of what you gave in that thing, was that, you know, just understanding that we have to be able to, no matter what our relationship is with our parents, we have to be able to see them as who they were before that.
Yes. I think, I mean, you don't have to, but I think if you want to be free, it's a good
Mm,
idea, you know, you know, so many people, when they haven't grieved their lost childhood or their trauma in their childhood, they find it the only part of grief that they will entertain is anger. And
mm,
actually, really, what really needs to happen for grief to be the medicine that it is you need to also tap into the sadness and the fear and the loneliness that you felt as a child, and you know, all the realities of what it was like to grow up, in your case with your father or without him, you know, when they're there but not there, whatever it might be. And yeah, all of that is required before, again, it's that clearing out part, putting over the side of the bridge so that you can then create space. And I love something that my own spiritual teacher said, was she said, when you clear out your heart, you grieve and you let go of, and you kind of release yourself from the grip of blame of your parents and the grip of the kind of victimhood that you feel around your parents. When you do that, you're creating space for the possibility of forgiveness to land in your heart, the possibility of forgiveness. And I think anyone that's been a parent, you know, I always say, like, if I can't find forgiveness for my parents, which I have, then how can I expect my children to find forgiveness for me for all the mistakes that I made? So it's like, you light the pathway towards forgiveness for your parents. So there's a light when your kids come along to see the possibilities of your both andness.
You've just helped me make a decision. I left those 2 boxes in the house, but I think I'm going to go and get them because
I
I
think
think I
it's a
want to
really
show
good
them.
idea.
I want to show them to my boys. So
Mm.
that's nice, man. I'm going to do that. That's a
That's
really good
so
idea.
beautiful, Johnny, because they really need to know the fullness of the stock that they come from. That you are your father's son, and there's many turbo gifts wrapped up in that, and there's also many pure gifts. You look at the dreams that you've brought to fruition through perhaps the gift of the kind of the focus, the grafting, the intelligence that your father had as his dream of being a pharmacist. You want to pass that on to your boys, that they know from the stock from which they came.
That's true. Yeah, I should do that as always.
I'll,
Grateful.
I'll be
I sit.
checking, yeah,
Yeah, I
via
sit.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we can answer back at 4 o'clock in the morning. You bugger. Yeah, that phone's nowhere near you at 4 o'clock in the morning.
No,
But listen, just before we come to an end, I'm so grateful for this time. Is there anything that you'd like to pass along that could help anyone with their self-development?
I think begin. That's what I would say, is just begin. Begin. There's so much out there. People can feel overwhelmed, and there's so many resources that are for free, and I know people can get kind of frozen by the overwhelm, and it's like, just start somewhere and pick a lane almost. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean? Like, if you want to, if you know that you had like we did, a difficult relationship with your father, start there. Do a bit of reading around the father wound, do a bit of reading around healing the father wound, just about the importance of understanding and healing intergenerational trauma. So start there to expand your knowledge, because the knowledge piece is the first step. Awareness is the first step, and then you move towards some kind of therapeutic process that allows you to process the realities of, in that case, the father wound. So I would just say begin imperfectly. Be willing to kind of stumble and bumble through your healing journey, but know that for every time you feel like it's kind of 2 steps forward and 3 back, that over time it reverses, and it's 3 forward and 2 back, and then 4 forward and 1 back, and then you find yourself at the other side of that portal, and life just feels lighter.
Such beautiful wisdom, as always. How can people find you?
They can find me by my website, which is donnalancaster.com. And I'm also on Substack, A Pilgrimage for the Soul, which is where I write about matters of healing and awakening and elderhood. And also, obviously, I've got my 2 books, which you've kindly mentioned, The Bridge and Wise Words for Women. And I'm also on Instagram, which is what I see as part of my service, where I post kind of fairly regularly sort of my thoughts and offerings just to support people. And that's at Donna Lancs, Lancs.
And I encourage everyone to go there, because you'll learn. You'll learn, you'll feel supported, and you'll get the truth, as you can see. But I just want to say to you, you'll hate it, but I'll say it anyway, is that I love you, man. And I'm so grateful for everything that you've done for me. And hopefully it's been fun for you too. Hasn't all been one-sided, hopefully. But you're a special person, man. And ever since you come into my life, I've been I don't know whether to call it feels like I want to say unraveling, but I think I'm becoming the person that I'm supposed to be. And it's all about deepening into life, deepening into myself. And I'm so grateful for you. So thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you for everything you've done for me, whether you meant to or not. And thank you for today. I really appreciate your time and wisdom. So thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. Those are beautiful words for my soul and heart to munch on. So thank you so much. I love you too. You are a soul brother to me. And I love you very, very much. I'm very grateful you're in the world. And thank you for all you do as well. I know this is a love fest, and your listeners might be gagging, but I don't care. We're living in truth.
Yeah, it's all
You're
true.
doing amazing. in the world. And yeah, I tell you this, my friend, listen closely and you will hear your Father's Spirit cheering.
Mm. Don't hear it yet, but I think I will at some point.
Yeah,
So
I
thank
think
you
you will
again for
too.
today. And thank you for everyone listening. And I will see you next week for another episode of the Johnny Lawrence podcast.